A child welfare task force created after the deaths of Sabrina Ray and Natalie Finn has not met in almost 2 years. And KCCI uncovered the state has no future meetings planned.
KCCI's chief investigative reporter Suzanne Benke and Laura Terrell have been working on this investigation for 3 months. We do want to warn the folks at home, some of this content may be difficult to hear. Laura?
Sabrina Ray and Natalie Finn both starved to death at the hands of their adoptive parents. Separate cases, just months apart. Advocates now say the state's lack of follow through with the task force is a betrayal of the girls' legacy.
My body doesn't know if it's going to be starved again, and so it's just always in fight or flight.
Michaela Finn wants you to hear her story in her own words. In her first interview ever, she describes escaping the horror that happened inside this West Des Moines home.
A 911 location emergency.
I forced my brother to call the police, and so when he called the police, that's when it all came undone.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
I don't know. My sister's really anorexic and she doesn't get up to go to the bathroom at all.
The police knew as soon as they came inside the house that there was something going on. They knew that we were malnourished. I could barely walk to the cop car.
October 24th, 2016, the day Michaela was set free. Also the day she watched her older sister Natalie die in front of her.
She gave me and Jaden her food to where she stopped eating and made herself die, basically to save her siblings, because Jaden and I were on the edge of dying also, even with her food.
16-year-old Natalie weighed just 66 pounds at the time of her death. Nicole Finn is now serving life in prison for starving and abusing her adopted children.
Thank God. Thank God. I hope she never sees sunlight ever again.
Michaela was 18 months old when she and her biological siblings were adopted by the Finns. She says Nicole's abuse escalated in the last year of Natalie's life.
Our beds went away. We weren't allowed to sleep on them anymore. We had to sleep on the floor. Our blankets went away. We weren't allowed to use them.
Less than 7 months after Natalie's death, another case of starvation and abuse. This one just 35 miles away in Perry.
Yeah, life changed that day.
Josh Sinkowitz is the police officer who responded to Sabrina Ray's case on May 12, 2017. And Sam Hofer,
it's something that'll never leave me. You'll never get those images out of your head.
Is the paramedic who pronounced her dead. 16-year-old Sabrina was found wearing an adult diaper on the floor, weighing just 56 pounds.
The condition of the room, it stunk. There was no flooring. There was newsprint put over the windows. Just the single mattress on the floor, 3 child potties in the room. It was horrendous.
Sabrina's 2 sisters, ages 10 and 12, were also malnourished and rescued that day. Their adoptive parents, Mark and Misty Ray, are spending the rest of their lives in prison for starving and torturing the girls.
Why would you then go and let another case just like mine slip up right after you just had someone die?
An independent watchdog, the Iowa Office of Ombudsman, initiated a review of both cases and released the reports in 2020. The Ombudsman said it was concerned about the lack of internal investigation by DHS and said DHS provided no explanation as to why a formal review had not been completed. In Natalie's case, the Ombudsman office discovered many failures. 4 child abuse reports were made before 2012, and the outcomes were unknown because DHS did not keep the records. The Ombudsman wrote these early cases could have been an important tool to connect the dots when additional child abuse reports were made years later. The investigation also says DHS received 10 child abuse reports about the Finn children over an 11-month period in 2015. Of those 10 reports, 8 were rejected, including a report from Natalie's school principal that she appeared very thin.
Schools called, everyone called, and only one time did they ever come inside the house.
In Sabrina's case, the ombudsman found that the Rays had been the subject of 11 child abuse reports involving foster care children, Sabrina, and her siblings. But a lack of communication between workers weakened oversight. Again, the ombudsman found DHS's policy of not keeping records made it fail to recognize a pattern of abuse.
Had there been proper and thorough training on malnourishment, any rational person who's trained would see that these children were being starved.
Attorney Scott Wadding represented Sabrina's surviving sisters in a lawsuit against the state. They reached a $10 million settlement in 2023. Part of the settlement says the state must convene a task force to give recommendations to improve foster care in Iowa.
What was your hope for this task force?
I really felt like this was a way to open the door to have a conversation about the system of HHS.
Danielle and Jason Jepson adopted one of Sabrina's younger sisters. They, along with the adoptive mother of Sabrina's other sister, helped form the task force, which includes Sinkowitz, Hofer, and Janine Ritchie, the now retired Dallas County attorney who prosecuted the case.
When there have been failures, unfortunately, it usually results in the death of a child. And that's what we want to prevent.
But a KCCI records request revealed state leaders have not met with the task force in almost 2 years. We asked Iowa's Department of Health and Human Services for meeting dates and minutes. They sent us these 3 dates. The last one, February 23rd, 2024. We also only received minimal records from one meeting. HHS told us there are no future meeting dates for the task force.
It guts me. I am so frustrated because you see children day in and day out that somebody else just reads an article about, and you don't realize the breakdown.
While the state met its requirement to meet with the task force, every member told us they're upset by the lack of follow-through.
Her siblings that survived this horror show and this hell that they were in for so many years, basically their entire lives, we owe it to them to follow through.
Disappointment. I felt like our initial meetings went well. We were hoping to meet at a human level and meet with humans that cared.
Task force workers want to see better training for HHS workers to identify physical symptoms of malnutrition. They also think there should be a trained response team with a police officer, medical professional, and county attorney that shows up at the scene of specific abuse cases.
It's very hard and not fair to expect an HHS employee, to go in and be able to navigate that scene and do A to Z investigation that needs to be done. There's going to be things they don't see, that they're not trained to see, that they may miss.
The Jepsons say proactive, systematic change needs to come first, like HHS doing internal reviews and better data tracking.
We need to do accurate recording of removals, accurate recording of events that take place.
Did you feel like HHS was receptive to your recommendations?
It felt more like they were just placating us which obviously is what it was now. They just placated us to get us out of the way.
KCCI sent 3 requests for an interview for this story with HHS Director Kelly Garcia before her resignation was announced in September. We were told she did not have time for an interview. We also sent 3 requests to Governor Kim Reynolds' office to ask about the recommendations of the task force. She declined an interview. And Attorney General Brenna Bird's office told us it would also not be participating in this story.
Is enough being done to protect Iowa's most vulnerable kids?
Unequivocally, no.
If you have one case, it's not enough.
For Michaela Finn, the fear is real that this is happening to another child.
If they would have continued with the task force, I feel like a lot of greatness would have came from it, and I think they should.
For 2 16-year-old girls, life ended tragically at the hands of the people entrusted to protect them.
I miss hearing her voice.
Michaela Finn says speaking publicly after all these years is her way of being a voice for other abused children and honoring her sister who fiercely protected her.
It was amazing actually having a sister, and she was very, very kind-hearted. She was probably one of the best people that I've ever met.
And we tried, very hard for months to talk with state leaders about this story. While they declined interviews, HHS did send us some information late last week about what it says the agency is doing to keep children safe. HHS says that since 2018, it started training on malnourishment for all social workers and child protective workers. HHS also says it's investing in the workforce by providing one-time recruitment and retention bonuses for workers. We have the full HHS response on our web story on kcci.com, but still many unanswered questions like if HHS is conducting regular internal reviews of cases.
If you're a human being, it's difficult to watch this and not be upset. My heart is pounding out of my chest right now. I mean, but it's been a transition time for HHS. Have we heard from the new director?
We have put in several requests to talk with the new director, Larry Johnson. So far, we have not heard back, but we're very hopeful with the new leadership that we'll get a chance to sit down and talk to him about his plan for the task force moving forward.
It's very important to do this work and to remind people at home that there were 2 girls who died.
Yeah.
And so many other of their family members who are feeling this. And it makes me so angry. But it was so powerful to hear from Michaela Finn for the first time.
Yeah, Michaela, I just can't thank her enough. She is so strong. She is a survivor. And 9 years going by doesn't make that trauma go away. No. So the fact that she really wanted to do this and was willing to and wanted people to hear this from her words, what she survived is unbelievable. She's a mom now. She's 23. She's doing well. And we're so thankful for that. And we're thankful that her vulnerability and sharing this will help other kids who are potentially being abused right now.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you very much.
Yes.